the base human yearnings are to feel love, to feel generative, to take risk, and to have choice. And so dance, and it could be dance, it could be painting, it could be singing, it could be so many things. But for me, dance is the vehicle that I most enjoy, and it at the basic level of our human yearning to experience ourselves as humans here, we want to feel generative and creative. And so dance is a way that we are able to be generative and creative in our bodies. And in addition, it also provides us to perform on stage, provides us this opportunity to take risks, and to make a choice on our own behalf. And when we do that and we're really connected to ourselves, then there's a whole advanced availability that we have to be connected to other people. Because I can't really be connected to you if I'm not connected to myself.
Welcome to the Koolers Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn, and I'm excited to have you join me as I interview community members and business leaders from the communities in which I live, work, and serve through my business Cooler Garage Doors. We're going to bring you highlights on characters in our communities. Why? Because community matters, and I want to know more about who is behind our business and leadership in order to understand and support the community fabric that our relationships make up. And collectively, we can build stronger communities that support our lifestyles, our youth, and our health. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the Koolers Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kuehlhorn. Today, I have a great friend, KT Joy, co-founder and director of the Crested Butte Dance Collective. KT, thank you so much for joining.
Thanks for having me here, Matt.
Yeah.
And hello, good morning or evening to everybody in the Gunnison Valley and beyond. Thanks for listening.
Yeah. I'm glad that you're here, KT, and I'm excited to drop in a conversation with you. I've known of you for a very long time. I've known a little bit closer to you, for a shorter amount of time, and yet, we don't hang out too much, and I'm looking forward to those times and getting to know you more.
Me too.
Where did you grow up?
So I grew up about 10 minutes outside of Chicago in a small suburb called LaGrange. And as little kids, we would stand on the tracks and you could see downtown from the train tracks by my house.
Yes.
So, and then after my childhood, around 17, I went and moved into the city and then spent another 10 years of my life living in Chicago and working in Chicago.
What part of the city?
Pretty much all over. I went to UIC, which is downtown, Greektown area. And then I moved into the north side and I worked up on the north side. And I also, not super far north, more like Logan Square, Lakeview area. And then I worked in Chinatown. I was a public school teacher, a Chicago public school teacher, and I taught at a few different schools in the city, but the one that I spent the most time at was in Chinatown, which was pretty amazing. I got to work with Chinese and African American students and was one of maybe 2 Caucasian teachers in the building, and so it's a great chapter of my life.
Yeah, I love this. Now we have this whole new connection. I too was a kid that grew up standing on railroad tracks in Chicago. And
where?
I grew up in Beverly on the south side.
Okay.
So my dad is from north side. His brothers, his whole family, north side lineage, Cubs fans, everything about the north side. And then when I was born, my parents lived on north, and I don't know what really brought them to the south side, but I grew up in Beverly on the south side.
All right.
At 11, we moved into Michigan, but rooted in Chicago.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I'm easily a 5th generation Chicagoan.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey everybody, this is Luke from Koolers Garage Doors. Just want to take a quick second to talk about our sponsor, Sommar Garage Door Openers. We believe Sommars are the best in the business when it comes to garage door openers. We always recommend them for residential installs because of the many features they have. such as Wi-Fi connectivity and safety features like a fixed chain that runs along a secure rail for a quiet and safe operation. Click the link to find out more about Sommar garage door openers.
So how'd you end up in Crested Butte? What was the little synopsis there from the city into the mountain town?
When I was getting my education degree, I really liked studying. So I had a triple minor. Like I studied art and French and biology, and I needed to get a lot of biology credits really fast to catch up in time for my student teaching to start. And so there was a sign on the outside of the door of my professor's office that said, "Come study biology in the Rocky Mountains." And it had this beautiful picture of this mountain and these wildflowers and cabins. And so I went to Rumble, to Rocky Mountain Biological Lab as a 20-year-old, straight from Chicago, with my cotton sleeping bag and my cotton wardrobe. And I spent a summer at Rumble, and it totally changed my life, being somebody who was from an urban area.
Yeah.
Like I had never gone camping or hiking, or probably never even seen like actual stars, because it was so urban where I lived. So 20 years old, being up in Gothic, it was life-changing.
What a night and day shift.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it wasn't I was at Gothic and I had no idea Crested Butte was a ski town or was right next door. And so being a skateboarder from an urban area, when I found out that there was this ski resort and a place to snowboard, it was really intriguing to me. And I fell in love with Crested Butte during that time. And the times that we would hitchhike down from Gothic, I had never experienced a town where people would say hello to each other on the street.
Oh, I love that.
And my first few times in town, I thought that people thought I was somebody else and were mistaking me for someone else. And that's why they were saying hi to me. And then when I realized they were just saying hello just to be kind, and it settled in my body in a whole nother way of awareness of how humans could do community and could do life and what that meant. And so not only did the divine, beautiful nature of this valley change who I was and rewire me at a whole nother level, but having that community experience was pretty life-changing. And I also got really lucky. My first friends in Crested Butte, when I was living at Gothic at 20 years old, I came to town and went to the talk and hung out. And my first friends were Maddie Robb and Dylan McKnight and Sebastian Gillum and Dreddy Derrick. He was Derek C, but when I knew him, he was Dreddy Derrick. And and that was pretty special to meet those four people at 20 years old and see your first moments in Crested Butte. So it came at a special time, and it really impacted me.
What year was that?
That would have been 25 years ago. So 98.
Yeah. Awesome.
Long time.
Awesome. There's been a little bit of change in the valley since then.
Yeah, just a little.
Just a little. Have you been consistently in the valley since 98?
No.
Have you ever exited and been away for a few years?
I was an undergrad then. So I went back after the summer finished. I went back to college. I finished college, and then I taught full time in Chicago public schools for about 4 years after that. And then I came back to the valley. It was probably like 5 years after that first summer until I came back, because I've been here 20 years now. Yeah. And I have stayed with education, but I transitioned to teaching abroad. So I was teaching internationally and doing high school and college study abroad trips.
Okay.
So for a big chunk of my first years in the Valley, when you used to be able to do this, I was in and out. I would come for summer and winter, but then I would leave for the spring and the fall because it was really hard to work here during the spring and the fall. And so I would go do international trips, international education trips during those times. Those were back in the good old days when
those are the good old days.
There was a lot of housing and come and go. And,
That's right. Yeah,
the hardest part was finding work, but it's a little different now.
Yeah, a little different now. And during that time frame, if I've got my lineage correct, you were here through, what I would reference like the 05, 06, 07. There was a bubble. There was a lot of shift happening. That was before the veil effect, if you will. But now we've got another shift. A shift is on. Really, COVID spurred it also. Like there's multiple factors. What do you see about our current, shift in the Valley versus maybe that 06, 07 time frame and how it's different? What's new these days that might be bringing forth other challenges and or opportunity?
Yeah. I think it's, so I'm 45 now and I was 25 then. So, and what's new is my perspective. Obviously, all of our perspectives have changed.
Yeah.
First and foremost, and that allows us a lot more layers to see things through. So what I think I saw back then may be clouded by my 20-something lens of ideology and whatnot. But, I, like everybody, I have personally felt and have witnessed all the impacts of the loss of housing and what I would say is the devastating impact of vacation rentals on our housing and, the impact of COVID and how it changed people's landscape of their jobs and how so many more people moved to our town and the real estate explosion that happened and Wall Street's ties to the real estate explosion and, just how housing is changing all over the country. It's not just in our town, but it's interesting and challenging in our town to see how it's been impacting the fabric of our culture and our friends and people that we've seen move away, and also the people that were typically moving here back in 20 years ago that aren't anymore. Having a vibrant demographic of 20-somethings who are eager to work and excited to be here was a huge asset, I think, to the community. It's certainly how I came here. And I just don't see that happening in the same way that it was. And I'm not clear on how to even make that sustainable. I have some ideas, but so it's interesting to witness these changes, and there are also changes that we've seen in a lot of other places up and down the coast of California and all the other ski towns and all the other mountain towns that were a little bit more discovered before we were, and so it's interesting to watch.
It is interesting. It can bring up emotions of grief sometimes because it feels like a loss. Yeah. And my question is it a loss? Do you think, we've seen this, so, just to your point, we can look back, even take the mountain towns of Aspen, Telluride, there's definitely communities in California. And I grew up, once I left Chicago, I grew up in a resort town, very tourist-based Michigan, and similar thing. And part of this is population growth. Some of it's
the dynamics of just people's perspectives, the freedom to work from anywhere and wanting to get out of the bigger towns. So then coming into a small town, it makes me think of the Lorax. Like, does it stop? Is it worth stopping? There's some loss. There's shift. The only change is constant. What do we do? Where do we go with that?
Well, for me, managing the grief has led me down a more, I guess, spiritual path, I would say, around perceiving this whole situation. And this is not unique to our town, to our valley, or to our country. I mean, if you look back in history, this has been happening for thousands of years. I mean, people have been fighting over resources. People who have more power and more wealth have been taking land from indigenous groups for thousands of years, everywhere, all over the world. It's just, I feel like this is just another iteration of that. It's a value system that I believe is inherent to capitalism and to efficiency. As long as we are driven by our fear of survival and efficiency, we will be always individually trying to get what we need to survive and ignoring the big picture. And that big picture includes our planet and our communities, our tribes, our culture, our beauty, and just what we have to offer as humans to this planet and this existence. I mean, we're like slowly turning into, or maybe rapidly turning into, culture that is working for the majority of their time. And most people don't even remember how to play music anymore, or dance, or sew, or paint, or make beauty, or speak more than one language, or remember their ancestral stories, or know the names of their great-grandparents, or where their family came from. And we've lost our origin stories as a species, not as a species in total, but I'm talking about our particular westernized culture driven by capitalism and efficiency. And so I think this, for me internally, this is so much of a bigger conversation than just how do we solve affordable housing in the valley. I mean, this is a paradigm that we're living in. This is a value system that is consuming humans all over the planet and is driving us to near extinction. And so I have my own perspective on what can each of us do, because systemically it feels overwhelming to try to change that. It feels overwhelming to try to make affordable housing in the valley actually affordable and available, and so how do you tackle this larger decline, I believe, of human culture, really, and human values, and I think that starts from within. That starts from changing our own experience of ourselves and the world around us from within, and changing our own value system, and remembering who we really are. Remembering what it means to be human, and how to make beauty, and how to have a relationship with the planet that we live on, and how to truly have a remembrance of culture. And I'll use the term that Marcy Tellender uses, as spiritual improvisation. Spiritual awakening, and improvisationally remembering and developing ourselves into a new paradigm.
Yeah, that's what it is. And you mentioned that word paradigm. I love that word. I think it's super applicable. I almost feel like the optimism that I have is in thinking that we are in the middle of a paradigm shift. And a paradigm can change everything. And we can go down that rabbit hole. However, I'm more interested in seeing if there's a connected thread here, because you brought up, some, not like, we need to remember the connections. And it seems like that might be part of the mission that's driving the work you do through the dance collective. Would you agree with that?
Definitely.
What's the mission of the Crested Butte Dance Collective?
So, just to explain to listeners, what is the Crested Butte Dance Collective? 14 years ago, myself and Nicole Blazer, H. Marziano, Lindsay, and Joan Grant came together to create a dance production called Move the Butte, because we wanted to create more of a community-led talent show of sorts. And we did that, and it made us realize how important it was to maintain this group of people and this mission of creating a dance community that was doing productions and getting people involved who may not consider themselves dancers. And so we started the Dance Collective. Okay. And that's been operating for 14 years. Currently, we are part of the Crested Butte School of Dance. We are a program under the nonprofit of the Crested Butte School of Dance. And our mission is to use dance as a vehicle to connect people to themselves, to each other, and to the world around them. So to use dance as a vehicle, connect people to themselves, to each other, and to the world around them. And that mission comes from one of my teachers this is from a body of work from Virginia Satir, who was a very famous family systems therapist. And she believed that in order for people to be whole people, they need to be connected to themselves, to each other, and to the world around them.
I love that. And is that, again, referencing the internal game? Like, being connected to myself means I have to feel what my body feels and drop in, which, to be honest, is part of my journey. I think in my 30s especially, I was of the mindset of like disconnecting from the body. That was my own journey, and it created its own issues. And the more that I can become connected and feel, I mean, is that what dance can do?
I think dance can definitely and does do that. It connects us to our bodies. It releases on a somatic level our traumas, our emotions, anything that is potentially stagnant or stuck or buried. If we don't have resources to process, let's say verbally, what's going on for us,
yes,
then a lot of times processing or moving something somatically or through the body can help us get to a deeper connection to ourselves and what's going on for us.
Yes.
And as well, there's a place where all humans need to have a deep yearning to feel generative. So this comes from my study in family systems therapy of Virginia Satir's work, that she believes that the base human yearnings are to feel love, to feel generative, to take risk, and to have choice. And so dance, and it could be dance, it could be painting, it could be singing, it could be so many things. But
yeah,
for me, dance is the vehicle that I most enjoy, and it at the basic level of our human yearning to experience ourselves as humans here, we want to feel generative and creative. And so dance is a way that we are able to be generative and creative in our bodies. And in addition, it also provides us to perform on stage, provides us this opportunity to take risk, and to make a choice on our own behalf. And when we do that and we're really connected to ourselves, then there's a whole advanced availability that we have to be connected to other people. because I can't really be connected to you if I'm not connected to myself. And so when you bring a bunch of people together to dance together in a shared class or a shared, production, then all of a sudden we have this sameness, we have this shared experience that's creating this way for us to connect to ourselves and be generative and take risks and have choice and feel love. And then I can really connect to you at a whole other level that wasn't available to us before. And then when we put that on a stage and we perform in front of our community and we have our best friends and our sisters and our husbands and wives and children and our dental hygienist and, our bus driver and, all the people in our community are there witnessing that and seeing us, then they're seeing a whole other level and layer, and they're also being influenced by what we're offering and the way that we are being creative and generative and our offering to them, and hopefully being impacted by that beauty and then being connected on a community level to each other. And this production of Move the Butte specifically, where we pull all these different people together, and it's more of a talent show, and everyone gets to showcase their own pieces. The choreographers choose what they're going to do. They find their dancers, and they create all these different individualized pieces. Then you have this whole other layer where each piece is connected to something that people are experiencing, whether that's joy and sexuality, or whether that's grief because someone in our community has passed away, or it's anger because of what's happening in the war or what's happening with people's human rights, all these different things that are going on within the human experience of our community and beyond, then get channeled into this art form and get portrayed on stage. And then, we're together, we're sharing in that processing or that grief or that joy. And it becomes a shared experience of the pulse of what's going on right now. And if I can keep going on this tangent, I'm sorry, I know I'm going on very long.
Go for it.
And I believe that is what connects us back to our ancestral lineages that were very much dancing all the time for every harvest, for every planting, for every birth, for every wedding, for every major catastrophe, for every time of sickness and plague. All of our people dance, whether you are from Africa or you are from Croatia or you're from Iceland or anywhere on the planet, people dance, going back all the way to the moments of our becoming bipedal. And so, and people dance to mark and pray for what was happening and what was needed, and their gratitude, above all, for their gratitude of their incarnations. And so what for me, when I enter into this work and creating another container for Move the Butte for another year, or whatever other dance productions we're doing, that's my prayer. That's my prayer, is that these moments of us coming together in shared creativity will connect us to ourselves, to each other, to the world around us, to our ancestors, to remembering who we are as humans, and to hopefully coming to a place of where we can truly be alive and keep everything alive and keep this planet alive and keep our culture alive and keep our hearts alive in the midst of all that's oppressive.
Yeah.
To who we are.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thanks for letting me go on my rant.
How many
Some people just think they're
Buttes?
dancing, but for me, I'm like,
Yes.
this is what we're doing. We're saving the world. We're trying to feed, as my teacher Martine Partel would say, we're trying to feed the holy.
Yes.
We're trying to feed the holy with our beauty.
I had a feeling our conversation would go to a level of depth that would be enriching. KT, how many Move the Buttes have there been?
We have had 13, and this year will be our 14th year.
Awesome. When is this one coming up?
It is on February 23rd, 24th, and 25th. We will have 4 shows at the Center for the Arts in Crested Butte.
Beautiful. Again, truly, honestly, thank you. Thank you and the team of founders, and for you now holding this space. What you just explained is beautiful. It's strengthening community. I can't agree more that, the movement of emotion, energy in motion, what an awesome way of moving, somatically, but also building these relationships, because that generative, creative, risk, choice, everything's there. And I know from my work in our county substance abuse prevention project, risk is an important thing. And man, I might be doing it myself, but sheltering our kids is almost a natural thing as well. And yet we have to take risks ourselves and encourage our kids to take risks. It's where we learn. So anyway, I just really appreciate that. I love the work. I love going to the Move the Butte shows. It definitely moves me. Any show I can feel, I will cry at most shows at some point in the moment, but there's also cheers. There's the whole range, right? And it's just beautiful. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to the community for supporting these shows, because that's what's made it possible for us to continue on in this work, is that we sell out every show, and the community members, are there supporting us energetically, buying tickets, and also to our business sponsors. We get a lot of support from businesses in town who are donating money to us to become business sponsors for the show, to make sure we can cover our costs. We get a lot of support from the Center for the Arts, if anyone's interested in becoming a business sponsor, you can reach out to us, and we would love to have your help and support. And yeah, it takes a community effort to put on a show. And this year we have roughly 110 dancers.
Wow.
And we'll hopefully sell out to about 1,200 audience members, and 4 shows, and 22 different dance pieces. So it'll be really wonderful. It's a really great show already, and we hope to see everyone from the community out there.
So KT, as we start wrapping up this conversation, and I've been really enjoying this. I have some notes. Thank you. I love this. But for Move the Butte, just so we can summarize, the show is about a month away. You've got a lot of dancers, a lot of talent coming up, a lot of our community members to show and strut and move the Butte. And right now, is this the time where you're looking for those business sponsors?
Yeah.
This is the time for businesses to say, hey, I'm engaged. And what's the best way for a business sponsor to reach out?
The best way would be to email me at movethebutte@gmail.com.
Cool.
So MoveTheButte, MoveTheButte @gmail.com. Or you could go to our website at dancecrestedbutte.org. And I can get information out to whoever might be interested.
Is it strictly businesses, or is there room for private?
We have a lot of individual sponsors as well. People that are just really passionate about this show and about the work that we do, and that want to sponsor and donate to this production. And these donations help us to pay for the show and to pay a livable wage to the staff that runs the show. We have a lot of volunteers, and a lot of, it takes about, I'd say, 1,000 hours, staffing hours, to make the show possible. And so, yeah, it's expensive. It's expensive to put on a production like this and to rent a theater and to have a tech team. So the donations help us with that. And then they also help us carry on our mission into other productions as well. Because as most people know, the arts are really underfunded, especially in this community where it's so expensive to live and it's so challenging to find housing. It's really important that we make sure that all of our arts organizations in the Valley are funded well so that people can continue to have livable wages. So support all the nonprofits, everybody out there who can, please, all of them, arts organizations and beyond, mental health organizations, everyone, all the nonprofits need it in order to, and all of our schools need it in order to pay all of these people living wages.
Yeah, it definitely takes a village. And in closing, KT, we will add that email and likely a link to the website in our show notes. And we'll work to get this out. If you're listening and want to contribute to Move the Butte, MoveTheButte@gmail.com. And when do tickets go on sale?
Tickets will go on sale to the general public on February 6th.
Cool.
And you can find out more information about how to buy those tickets at dancecrestedbutte.org.
Awesome. KT, I don't want to go, but we're going to go.
We can continue this over dinner.
That's right.
It would be great.
That's right.
Thanks so much for having me on. And thanks to all the listeners for listening and for supporting dance and Move the Butte in the Valley. And if anybody wants to continue any conversations with me, just reach out. I'm always really up for a good conversation about life and being human.
I love that. We'll get dinner soon, KT. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your passion.
Thanks, Matt. Have a good day.